gaming division.
Hey everybody, I'm here today to talk about Final Fantasy Tactics. Not Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, not Final Fantasy Tactics Advance 2, not the PSP version of Final Fantasy Tactics, which is the reboot, but the original PlayStation 1 version. That's the one I started on, that's the one I played through, and that's the one I fell in love with. So that's the way I'm going to start this channel, is with Final Fantasy Tactics. Let's start with the categories. First thing up is aesthetics. Now, at the time, Nintendo was going through a fight with Square, and Square was prepping all these graphics and everything to run on optimal hardware. Nintendo wasn't able to deliver. They went to Sony, reformatted all their stuff for Sony's hardware, and at the time, Final Fantasy Tactics was pretty much state of the art. Very similar, but not quite the same as Final Fantasy VII, for those who remember. To this day, it's still good. Everything matches, everything's proportional, it gets to convey what it wants to convey, and even though there's no voice acting, which I'm fine with, it manages to tell the story in a visually pleasing way. There's even good cutscenes, but my favorite thing about the cutscenes are that they are all done with the game boards. Everything that happens on a tactical board, and you can see the characters follow their lines in predetermined code. That's how I think a cutscene really should be. To me, aesthetics gets a 90. Control interface. Control was the PlayStation 1 controller. So you didn't even have the R3 and L3 buttons where you push in the joysticks. You didn't need them. It's a tactical RPG. You just need arrows, and you need a bunch of buttons to select commands. Really, you could play this on a Nintendo controller if you really wanted to, but the triggers do help rotate the maps around. Other than it being a PlayStation controller, and my infuriation with the A button not being an accept button, I think it's circle on a PlayStation controller. To me, that's where the accept button should be, and Sony has it backwards. So that's my only real gig there. Other than that, everything meets fine. None of the controls are not where you expect them to be. All the menus are clearly labeled. As long as you go through them, you'll find what you're looking for. Control interface gets a 95 to me. Environmental control. This game is very straightforward about what is going to happen when you tell it to do things. So as long as you're telling it to do the right things, it's going to do them. Now, there are situations where you're trying to see something and you get caught up, but mostly that's you. And occasionally you'll do something and someone will slide down a hill, or couldn't see how this would happen. But it all comes down to understanding the mechanics that are involved in the game. More than anything, just some of them are not as intuitive as they should be. Environmental controls gets a 90. Game mechanics. This is what makes the game, it's game mechanics. This is what makes the game a game. That's what makes Final Fantasy Tactics great. The job class system combined with the battle system not only makes the replay value incredible, but it gives you a good time regardless of what strategies you take. They do take some strategizing, but you really don't have to. You could take 5 nights all the way through the entire game if you really wanted to. Might be kind of boring, but you can do it because you have control over it. They did such a great job balancing everything and giving the player the proper amount of control. Mechanics gets a 95. Storyline. Now, not every game has a storyline, but not every game has a storyline as good as this. Not only is this a great game, but it has a great story to it. You play as Ramza Beolv, a nobleman's son, in a middle of a house war. You end up rebelling against the house and the war itself in the name of the people, and then in way of that discover that the church is manipulating both the houses anyways for their own dire purposes. And you go and battle them and find out that they're using supernatural items to gain demon powers, and you've got to stop it. It's a great story just with that explanation. When you go into the details of all who's betraying who and the politics, and are my friends, and who can I trust with this or that, it gets wonderful. It gives you obstacles where you need them, and it gives you decisions where you need to make the decisions on how you want to go about things. And they even add an open world feel to it by the 4th chapter, so you can explore pretty much wherever you want to try to get certain achievements. Storyline to me gets a 95. My absolute love it for this has got to be the job class system. It makes the replay value exponential, and it's by far the best one I've met in so much of my gaming career. It's what I go back to anytime I'm thinking about job classes. I refer to this game. My hate it would be that when you finally get Cloud as part of your story, he starts at level 1. Why? You're at like at least level 50 at this point. I'd be very impressed to see anybody below that. I think the speedrunners do it between maybe 20 and 30. And good on them, but I can't do that. For my wrap-up review, if you can't handle not being in real time, you may not enjoy this game. But for those of you who can go to a turn-based system and strategize with your guys on a board in a proper turn system, that AT list is invaluable for knowing what's going to happen. And I'm not saying there aren't rooms for improvement, and it is a PS1 game, but I would love it if they remade that game and they remade it correctly. I think that's it for me. I'm Cameron. Have a nice day.